friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal and I am so excited that you guys are here today. Today I'm working on my second project using the Kindness Story Kit from Ali Edwards. And actually today is going to be somewhat of a 2-for-1 kind of deal. So oftentimes, I like to tell stories that will go into both my son's story album and my daughter's story album that have the same concept but are made specific to them as individuals. So that is what I'm doing today. Today, I have decided to create a spread for my daughter and a spread for my son that is a letter that I wrote to them. So I wrote a letter to each of them just about the ways that I see kindness, or the ways that I see them exhibit kindness, what kindness means to our family, and my hopes for them in the future to continue being kind people to others, to themselves, and just to the world at large. So what I have in front of me are a couple of different things. So although the idea for these spreads is the same, the way that they're going to be put together is a little bit different. So for my daughters, I have her letter, which I put onto a canvas on the computer. I outlined it in blue, and the reason I did that is because I liked the way that it worked with some of the colors that I'm using in her spread. Then I have 2x2 pieces. Some of them are patterns, some of them are photos. So this one is actually the same photo, but the rest of them, there's a lot of them that are different. I made all the photos black and white just because I liked the way that that looked with the colors of the patterns. And then that's going to go into a 2x2 pocket. This is going to go into a 6x8 pocket, and I'm just going to stamp on the top and on the bottom Dear Izzy and Mommy. So that is pretty much the concept for Isabella's. For Jonah's, it's going to be the same idea. So for him, I also have a letter that I wrote to him. Again, I'm going to stamp Dear Jonah and Mommy at the bottom. I have a couple of embellishments that I printed out to use. I'm using the digital kit for all of this today. I have a large photo that I printed of him and his sister. And then I have this transparency that I made. Let me put it on here so you can see it. From one of the journaling cards that says, "You don't have to move mountains, simply fall in love with life. Be a tornado of happiness, gratitude, and acceptance. You will change the world just by being a warm, kind-hearted human being." So that is going to go over top of the picture of them. So both of these are going to be fairly easy here on my table. They were also fairly easy to put together on the computer. So before we get to assembling everything in front of me today, let's head over to the computer. I'll take you through the process of how I created some of these different pieces. Then we'll come back here and get both of these spreads assembled before signing off for the day. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we are over on Photoshop Creative Cloud, and let me just show you guys how I put some of these pieces together for this spread. So I have both of them up. This will be the spread for Izzy's album, and this will be the spread for Jonah's album. So let's start with Isabella's. So first thing I did was I picked out 6 photos that I really liked that represented Izzy and her brother's relationship. And then for her spread, I used all 6 of them, and I just cropped them into 2x2s and turned them all black and white because they're all from different times. So it just, that way I didn't have to worry about their clothes matching or anything like that. So I can quickly show you how I went about cropping these pictures. So here is one of them that I used. The first thing I did is went over to my adjustments and I brightened it up quite considerably, and then also increase the contrast a little bit as well. Then I merged those layers together. Once that was done, I went back to my adjustments tab and clicked on black and white. That turns the photo black and white. Again, I'm going to merge those layers together. And then I cropped them. I have mine at a width height resolution. I am going to go 2 inches by 2 inches at 300 pixels per inch. Then I can go ahead and move this into place and hit the enter button, and that is going to crop my photo. So we can zoom in, and there it is. So that's how it's going to print out. I did that for all 6 photos. So that's the first thing I did. Once I had my photos done, the next thing I wanted to do was create my patterned squares and my squares that have the sentiments in them. So for those, what I did is I opened up some of the patterned cards. So like here's an example. Then I just used my crop tool, same thing, 2 inches, 2 inches, 300 pixels per inch, and then got this to where I liked it. Let's say right there, hit that enter button, and now this is a 2x2 square that I can print out just like that. I think there is one on here that uses the Kindness Matters, I think. Or no, it's this one. It's this Stay Kind. I also created a 2x2 out of this by just reducing that area and moving it on top of the this journaling card where it's all pattern, hitting the enter button, and that gave me an additional pattern for my page. Finally, for the ones with quotes on them, those ones were kind of easy as well. So we just have like, here's one with be kind. I'm going to hit that enter button and then move this into place so I can just hit the enter, and then it's kind of, well, I could have made that a little bit better, but you get the idea where all the words are in there. Nothing's being cut off. And then for that same one, the Stay Kind, all I have to do is just hit the, click once and hit enter, and now that one is also a 2x2 square. So that is how I created all of the 2x2s and how I created all of my photos. For the right side, what I did is I opened a new canvas sized at 6 inches by 8 inches. Then I went back to my original spread and I grabbed my eyedropper tool and picked up the blue from this square here. Then I could go back to my original, my original canvas here, grab my paint bucket and paint that in blue. Once that was done, we can go ahead and switch that back to black. Once that was done, I wanted to create a square to go on top that would hold my journaling. So I went to the shape tool, grabbed the rectangle, and just clicked once, which allows me to enter in specific dimensions. So since this is 6 inches wide, I'm going to have it be 5.75 inches wide. And then the canvas is 6 inches tall, it's 8 inches tall. So we'll make this 7.75 inches tall. That will give us 1/4 of an inch around the whole thing. So we'll move that into the center. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit enter. Once we get it into position, then we're going to come over to the menu underneath properties, and we're going to fill it with white, and we're going to have the outline be none. And then we'll hit enter, and that is going to give us our square in the middle. From here, what I did is I found a stamp set that I wanted to use to make my title, and I want to put Dear Izzy or Dear Jonah, and then Love Mommy or some form of that, just like this. So I got my stamp set out, I measured how big those stamps were, and then I just put a guideline at where it would need to be. It was somewhere around 1 1/4 inch. So something in this ballpark. Once I had that done, I could grab my text tool, make myself a text box in the remaining area, and then I could type in my journaling or the letter that I wrote to the kids. So that is essentially how I created this journaling page. Now, once this was created the first time, it was really easy to make it for Jonah's spread. So Jonah's, we'll keep this all open for now. So for Jonah's, his letter is the same format, but the design that I wanted to use for his was to crop a photo to the full 6x8 size. Then I wanted to create an overlay using one of the cards, the quotes on that card. So let's go to that. We'll pull open the card, which is right here. And then what I wanted to do was make this into a transparency that is sized at that page protector size. So I am going to grab that crop tool again, and this time we're going to crop it to 6.875 inches by 8.25 inches at 300 pixels per inch. Again, I want to take this and expand it all the way to the top in the bottom of that original card, like that. But then I want this to go over so that it is all the way against the edge on the right hand side. That's because I know this is going to go on top of the photo and it's going to be hole punched on this side. So moving it all the way over will help me to keep it a little more centered. We're going to hit the enter button. If we grab the zoom tool and just make it print size, it'll go back to, you'll be able to see it looks fine. So this, I'm going to print on transparency. And what happens when you print on transparency is it does not print white. So it's only going to print the words that you see on here. Now, in order for me to see what that's going to look like, what I can do is grab well, first of all, I need to go over and unlock this layer. Then I can grab my magic wand tool and just click the white background and hit the delete button. Then I can unselect or deselect, and this is going to give me that transparency look. From here, I can just go ahead and copy the whole thing and then place it on top of whatever I want it to go on top of, and that shows me, what this would look like as a transparency. So just FYI, that's how I'm able to see what it looks like here, and also why there's the little white bits and pieces inside the words. But when you print it on transparency, that white actually will not print. Last but not least, I wanted to, I guess I have two more things, right? One is I needed to change the color of Jonah's letter. So what I did is I used that quote again. Let's zoom in on it. And I grabbed this maroon red color. So I just grabbed my eyedropper, picked up that purpley color, went back to the same template that I made for Izzy's page, grabbed my paint bucket, clicked on background, and colored it that purpley maroon color. So that is how his ended up like this. And I think I actually may have made my journaling square more like, it might have been more like 7.5 inches tall by 5.5 inches wide. It looks like a little bit thicker than this one, but you do you. Okay, so we're done with this. So we did that. Then the last thing I did was just to grab a couple of digital embellishments. What do I want to call that? The label there was actually this purple label. Again, all I did was use this quote. I picked up one of the lighter colors and then painted the purple part that peachy color and added that onto my page. Now, when you actually copy this and paste it onto the page, you'll see that it's really quite big, and I reduced my size. So all that I did for this was transform it, and then I moved it. I shrunk it down to be a bit smaller because I want to use this mostly as an embellishment rather than as an actual label. So that is that. And then the only other thing was this chipboard piece. It was a digital chipboard piece. I did not resize it. I left it exactly how it is. We can put it over here. I'll show you. And I just put it at the bottom. So those two things are going to be on the photo itself underneath the transparency. So what I'm going to do now is get everything printed off. You know what? Let me show you one last thing before I actually print everything. So let's close out of everything. And what I want to show you is how I printed all of those 2x2s so that you don't have to print them on individually. So what I did, I'm going to grab my whole spread here. So this is how I designed it to look like this on here. So what I'm going to do is grab my move tool, and I just want to highlight all of those 2x2 squares. Once I have that done, I can copy them, and then I'm going to create a new canvas that is 8.5 by 11 because that's the size photo paper I have. I will paste those all on here, but I actually want there to be a tiny bit of space in between all those squares. So I'm going to click off so I don't have them all highlighted anymore, and I'm just going to highlight, the top 9 and then deselect, and then we'll do the top 6 and move those up a little bit, and then we'll do the top 3 and move those up a little bit. So it just gives them a little bit more space so that I can cut them out and not have to worry about the colors bleeding onto the photos or anything like that. And then I can just grab all of it and just throw it into the center, and that should be that. So that is how I printed out all of those 2x2s, in case you are wondering. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get all of this stuff printed out, and then I will meet you guys back over at my craft table to get their pages assembled and into their books. All right, so we are back at my craft desk and ready to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this photo of Jonah and Izzy and add the little embellishment cluster to the bottom of it. After I get this adhered, I will do some stamping, but I am going to lose part of my video footage. I didn't realize I had a call in the middle of filming. And I forgot to put my phone on airplane mode, so my bad. Anyway, so this is going to go on the bottom of that photo, and then I will eventually add a puffy sticker to it as well as the month and year, so just June 2020. But that I will do later. Once I have that embellishment cluster little thing kind of adhered and ready to go, I will pull over the letters and start working on stamping out my titles. So this stamp set that I'm using is called Cobble Hill, I believe is the name, and it is from Kelly Perky. Now, Kelly does not have this stamp set in her shop anymore. In fact, it was, I think, on clearance when I got it, but it's a really good alphabet if you do have it in your stash. I super love it. It looks kind of like a hand-drawn lettering that you would see like in your school books. I don't know, like your younger years. I really super like it. So I'm going to stamp out Dear Izzy on Izzy's, and then I'm also going to stamp out Dear Jojo on Jonah's. So Izzy's full name is Isabella and Jojo is Jonah. But those are their nicknames. So I figured that worked, and then that way their names and the deer fit all the way across the top there. And then at the bottom, I just have Mommy. So my footage cut out partway through putting this spread together, and the only other thing that I did when the filming wasn't happening is I just added a couple of puffy stickers to the spread for Jonah, which I kind of pointed to them just a second ago, and I'm going to do the same thing to Izzy's. So I put all of her little squares into the pockets, and then I'm going to add 3 of these puffy heart stickers, these are from Ellie's Studio, onto this spread. I did consider waiting until my kit arrived in the mail and using the felt hearts instead, but I felt like the colors of these really went very nicely with this kit, especially once they, find their final resting place. They look really nice. So I like the way that looks. I'm going to pull those 2 squares back out, stick the puffy heart stickers on top of them, put them back in, and then I'll just put away the Dear Izzy spread into the 6x8 pocket, and then we will go ahead and slow you guys back down. All right, you guys, that finishes up these spreads for today. I love the way that they turned out, and I love the concept of this story and writing a letter and centering it all around kindness. It was so nice to be able to write to them about, that sort of a thing. And I always like it when I can write a story or create a concept that I can use in both of their albums, but tweak it in order to make it specific to them as individuals. It's something I super love to do, and I do it very often. So if you guys have followed me for any length of time, you probably have noticed that as well, that there's a lot of crossover between the stories in the 2 kids' albums. Anywho, I hope that this gave you guys some inspiration and some different ideas on ways to use the kindness kit from Allie Edwards. It's definitely a theme that I am super loving right now. So I am excited to come up with some more ideas and make some more projects using this kit. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can see all of my future crafty videos. Until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye now. We'll be right back.